Okay, so Dustin, Adam has some friends you think might just melt down, freak right out in a flotation chamber. Have you had an experience like that at the place?
No.
That's good.
No. Some people most people are a little bit anxious, I think, when they first arrive at the float center.
Yeah.
But I think once they see our facility, once they see the pods, they're quite large, like I said.
Oh, they're big, yeah.
Yeah, 8.5 feet by 5.5 feet. Yeah. So there's a lot of room in there, and you can get out whenever you like. So I mean, you're completely in control of the environment, right? You know, you have the option to listen to music. So you know, there's ways that to
calm yourself, and it's fair.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can get out, like you say, you can get out whenever you like. People should probably understand. Are people losing trust in pharmaceuticals and using activities like yoga and floating to help treat their physical and mental ailments? Is that part of the motivation?
It could be a small percentage. I mean, people are leaning more toward holistic medicine, I believe, because the side effects that come from prescription sometimes doesn't come up for another 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it ends up coming back, and it almost feels like it haunts people, right? Like, I've dealt with a lot of people that do rehabilitation yoga.
Yeah.
So that's focusing on meditation, helping on calming the mind, but also helping with things like sciatica within the spine. So all those things that individuals reach out to doctors to, I agree nowadays, especially in today's time, they're coming toward.
I think people, because the reason I ask is I'm convinced that people are losing faith. Not, I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody not to take their pills. If you're prescribed a pill, you should probably take your pills. But do you think there's an element of people that are suffering from maybe sports injuries? They go to a doctor, physio, they're not getting the results that they're looking for, and they come knocking on your door? Is that happening?
For sure. I mean, I think that there's plenty of people that are like, you know, get me off these pain pills. You know, I think we've all kind of heard stories where, you know, it's like that's what they want. They don't want to take a pill every day. And so, you know, floating does provide that unique opportunity. We have a lot of people from the chronic pain clinic, people with fibromyalgia, hypertension, also, you know, professional athletes that have suffered, you know, concussions and other like neck-related injuries that come float. And, you know, I would never tell someone, you know, to get off their pain meds, but it's one thing that can help, you know, and subside the pain, and then eventually they can wean themselves off. Right, but I think yoga and floating are two great modalities that can really help in that regard.
And obviously, it takes that open mind to be able to actually attempt something outside of the realm of I guess your doctor's advice. Back to yoga now. As Western, I mean, I've never been to yoga. I'll be honest with you. I've been meaning to give it a shot, and eventually, I'm sure I will. But has Western society kind of exploited traditional yoga and maybe robbed a bit of the spirituality from it, or is it still alive and well?
Depending on who you see. Depends on the teacher and where they were trained. I was trained in India, so I try my best to bring a little bit of tradition into my practice and into my teaching, and that's usually focused around mindfulness, to be quite honest with you. And meditation is becoming much more popular and much more accepted in today's times now, so it's much easier to be able to bring in a little bit of tradition from India into the Western society, but it just depends on the teacher.
So people are receptive to the tradition, the spirituality of it still?
More and more, yes.
Now you also studied, I can't pronounce the name, forgive me, the head cranial
sacral therapy.
It's a mouthful.
It is.
I understand. Tell us a little bit about that.
So cranial sacral therapy it's kind of like a massage technique, an acupressure technique, where the practitioner would be feeling different parts throughout the individual's body.
Okay.
So starting from the tips of the toes, checking up toward the hips, to the shoulders, and to the neck. And it's mainly focused on the back of the skull. So once you feel the pulsing rate, so you're focusing basically on 3 rates. So the respiratory rate, the heart rate, and the cranium rate. So
the cranium rate?
Yeah, so the cranium rate is actually found in the spinal cord. So it's becoming much more popular now because holistic health is opening up. So like yoga and like meditation, I think honestly it's just a matter of time before it becomes the next thing.
There's a few in the pipe, I guess. You are in. This is fascinating to me. You took 12 days for a vipassana meditation. Vipassana. Well, butchered that one as well.
It's okay.
12 days. Tell us about that.
It was amazing.
Really?
Like, if people ever get a chance to do it, I think it could save a person's life.
So what is it?
So basically, you go into a center and you vow 10 days of complete noble silence. Okay. And it's literally like not even looking at a person, not opening the door for a person, because that's a way of communicating. So you're literally, they create an environment where you're focused to go inward and focused to touch those parts within yourself that most of us in our everyday life put aside, or we put under the mat. Mm-hmm. So it helps to detoxify your body and your mind.
Fascinating. So 12 days, not a word.
12 days of complete silence, 4 a.m. until 8 p.m. of meditation.
And this was done locally, or did you travel for this?
No, this was done locally. So I believe there's over 200 centers worldwide. Mm-hmm. You can Google Alberta Vipassana Association. Okay. And the location just changed, so I can't quote exactly where fair. They changed the center now. Sure. But it's amazing, and anybody can do it. You don't have to be somebody who practices meditation religiously. Mm-hmm. You can do it if you just need a break from regular life.
Life-changing experience for you?
It is. It was.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Cool. Folks, we're going to check in with the rant pack for our final time. Stay with us.
I really am a fence-sitter where it comes to things like meditation and related. Meditation falls firmly into what we call pseudoscience, which is to say it is something that has no scientific support. It's very difficult to test. Most of the research is based on anecdotal evidence, which is not evidence. It's people saying this makes me feel good. But scientifically, there's no support for meditation as anything that can benefit your health. That said, anybody who takes a break out of their day, if you live in a big city, you probably have pretty busy days most of the time. Anybody who takes a break out of their day and just sits down and just chills out for a little while, call that meditation if you will, but taking a break out of a busy day and just taking time to breathe certainly has some positive benefits, science aside.
Ooh, scalding. So she's not a fan. It sounds like, meditation in general, sure. Is yoga a pseudo-science, Angelica?
It could be.
Do you even care? I mean, really though, right? I mean, if it doesn't have scientific quantitative benefits, does that matter?
It matters for some people. Yeah. People that are a little bit more logical, they want the facts and they want the data. But I honestly challenge people to step into a class with zero expectation and just give it a go. Yeah. Because people would be surprised how much comes out of it and how much it actually starts to change your day by day. You start to become a lot more aware of things that you haven't been aware of before.
Same question. It's floating. Is it just some hackery, some pseudoscience? What's going on?
Well, there actually is quite a bit of research published. Scientific research out of Sweden. So Sweden has embraced it. It's got a long tradition floating, an interesting tradition. But essentially, Sweden took it up in the 90s. Okay. And a lot of the research is coming out of Sweden about how floating can improve pain, normalize heart rates.
So there has been
cortisol.
studies. I mean, there's documented medical journals are along the same lines, I guess, that would promote exactly what you're saying.
Oh yeah, increase gray matter in the brain as far as meditation goes. So there is a lot of research on meditation, actually.
Good stuff. Good to know. So okay, those who routinely practice meditation, regardless of the form, is it sort of the gateway to a healthier lifestyle down the road? Be it more exercise, a healthier diet? Do you find that it's sort of a transcendence?
Yes. You become more conscious of everyday activities. So you start to notice, let's say emotionally, if something comes up where there's an issue at hand, you stop, you take a breath, and you take a step back and you realize that you have that option of either reacting or not reacting. So that's what meditation does, is it's that missing link that I find that fills people's life so it becomes much more wholesome and much more happier. It's the joy that people are missing.
Are people going to start eating healthier and lifting weights? Do you think they're more prone to a healthier lifestyle through meditation?
I think 100%. And I think Angelica's right. It just brings more intention to the day. I think when you meditate, you can't ignore certain things, you're alone with your own thoughts, right? And you can kind of reflect, at least for me personally, you know, I kind of reflect on my own actions, you know, like why did I decide to eat that today, or why didn't I decide to exercise? And you're really confronted with that head on. You know, you can't just disregard that, you can't ignore it, you know, especially when you're floating or you're meditating or doing yoga. You know, it really just brings those thoughts to the forefront, and then you can examine them. And for me, that's what meditation means to me.
So a lot of it's really quite introspective then. It's about taking the time and evaluating yourself and figuring out what it is that you want. I mean, with that said though, I mean, which meditative activity is right for you? I mean, how do people sort that out? Or you just have to kind of give it a go and figure it out from there? Or is there different personality types that might be more prone to one thing or another, do you think?
I personally think it depends on the day for an individual. With what you just said, I think they just need to give it a go and to test their boundaries and to do some trial and error and see what works for them, whether they find meditation through painting, or they find meditation through sitting in a comfortable position with their eyes closed and focusing on sensations. It just depends on the individual.
Fair enough. And back to the pseudoscience thing, the chiropractor. For the longest time, chiropractic practice was considered, you know, pseudoscience. Personally, I've had struggles with a bad back, and I can say, you know, it absolutely works. What's next, though? I mean, we've got the yoga, it's mainstream. I mean, I guess floating is definitely mainstream now as well. What do you think's around the corner?
That's a good one.
Tough one.
That is tough. From my experience, I would have to say breath.
Breath, just breathing.
Just breathing. Breathing goes a long way for individuals.
It'd be an easy starting point, though, as well, I would think.
And that's usually the best starting point for individuals that are getting into meditation or yoga, is to just focus on the breath. And a lot of the times, the common diseases or the common illnesses from stress comes from a result of holding your breath, or the breath becomes shallow, or the breath becomes stiff. So by taking in that proper oxygen throughout your body, your muscles get an opportunity to reconstruct, to recharge, and to unwind from the day.
It's pretty wild. There's still so much about our own bodies and our spirit of well-being that I think we don't quite realize yet. It's pretty wild. Guys, thanks so much. Sorry, Dusty, you wanted to get a last word in.
Well, I was just kind of saying that, it's funny how we're just simplifying everything now. You know?
Too much though, you think?
No. I mean, literally, like if you learn how to breathe properly, that's gonna affect you in so many different ways.
It's something that you're not sat down, you don't have that, you know, the teaching early on in your life, right?
Well, because you asked like what's next, right? And I think breathing's a great answer. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out there that are talking about how to breathe, and it's just kind of funny that it's like breathing's next. It's
it is.
like maybe we should have been looking at that before.
Pretty wild. Guys, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
You both being here. Folks, that is all the time we have for tonight. As per usual, you can get at us on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. Don't be a stranger. Till next time, take care.